Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. We got a couple topics on today when we're talking about European professional peloton because Tom Boonen is in the headline news and he wants to know whether or not if Wout van Aert could have done better. Well, before we get to that, let me talk about the ketones because as I told you guys during the Vuelta a España, I was going to do a little bit of trial with the ketones health. So I tried this for 3 weeks. Didn't do much training during July and a little bit after July, not much, so I trained for 2 weeks. Then started my ketones, did 3 weeks of ketones health edition. They have a couple, they have their performance edition. This is their health edition. So after 3 weeks, I'm here to tell you guys, I didn't see anything. It tastes incredibly terrible. The aftertaste lasts with you guys for about 5 minutes, if not 10 minutes. And if you lick your lips, it's even worse than aftertaste. It was a horrible experience. I didn't get any kind of benefit out of it during the 3 weeks, 5 weeks total of training. But of course, I am turning 51 years of age. I do have a little bit of a health issue with my lungs still. So maybe it just doesn't work on old guys, or maybe it doesn't work on guys that aren't 100% healthy. I don't know. But with 3 weeks of trial on the ketones, I didn't see any benefit out of it. So that's my update on that. Now let's get into Tom Boonen, because is he a knucklehead or is he not a knucklehead? I'll post up the article, and of course you guys can read the article and see what I'm talking about. And then there he's reading some press stuff that talks about how Wout van Aert could not have done any better in 2022, and then Tom Boonen disagrees with it. Tom Boonen puts in the article, at least written by the journalist, that he thinks the only thing that matters is winning monuments. Tom Boonen, has multiple Paris-Roubaix victories and, of course, Tour of Flanders victories, with 4 of them being Paris-Roubaix. Does he have a legendary stats of win in the Roubaix? Of course he does. Tour of Flanders, undeniable with 3 wins there. But when we're talking about Wout van Aert and Tom Boonen saying the only thing that matters is winning multiple big-time victories, so Wout could have done better, that's absolutely ridiculous. Let me put this clear to everybody right now. And the whole reason why I do this channel is because so many times when I'm sitting back on the Chesterfield, I'm either watching the race live and thinking about the comments that the commentators are making and how wrong they are, or the tactics being so wrong. So I like to straighten them all out because I'm losing my hair sitting on the Chesterfield. And I got to bring it to you guys because I know there's got to be somebody at home thinking the same thing when you read Tom Boonen's article, and he doesn't believe that Wout van Aert had as great of a 2022 season as he could have. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous, and right now, up here on Beyond the Coverage, I'm here to tell you that Wout van Aert's career has already surpassed Boonen's Paris-Roubaix multiple victories and his Tour of Flanders multiple victories, because the biggest race in the world that matters is the Tour de France. When you come into the Tour de France, especially 2022, everything that matters is dominating the Tour de France, and that's what Wout van Aert did. I mean, Wout van Aert was something exceptional at the Tour de France. When you're talking about the first few stages, always coming up snake eyes with second places, and then going into stage 4 and just running away with it, remarkably going all the way to the line. Tom Boonen never did that. Then when you talk about getting into the mountain stages where he destroyed everybody late in the mountain stages, riding off for his race leader, Jonas Vingegaard, and just destroying Tadej Pogacar after he crashed on that stage and just rode the Slovenian off the wheel so Jonas Vingegaard can go up the road and win the stage. That was Wout van Aert doing it. Tom Boonen has never done that. Now, Wout van Aert does have himself some classic monuments because he's won Milan-San Remo. And, of course, this year he dominated the early semi-classics up in Belgium, talking about E3 Saxo Bank and, of course, Omloop Het Nieuwsblad. So Wout van Aert already has the resume. The only reason why he doesn't have a Paris-Roubaix in there and, of course, a Tour of Flanders is because he's made some tactical mistakes that he's got to clear up. But that's easy to see, Tom, because, of course, Wout van Aert just got into the road racing scene, 2019, when he started jumping on Jumbo-Visma and coming over and racing the road scene, because he's come from the cyclocross season. So if you're looking at it and you want to compare him to Tom Boonen, really Wout van Aert's probably like 24 years old at this point in time. He's got about 4 years of racing in his career. Most of the racers would start about 20 years old, 22 years old. And at that point in time, of course, they don't have the tactics right. When I'm sitting up on the butterfly effect and I'm calling these guys knuckleheads, that's because I lived through all that. When I went through my 20s, I was a big-time knucklehead, and then I learned some tactical stuff early in my 30s and got smarter and smarter until finally I'm close to retirement, and I finally figured out how to race my bike, and now I can bring it to you guys on the Butterfly Effect and, of course, Beyond the Coverage. But when we're talking about Tom Boonen, this guy's 42 years old. He's not a kid. He's gone through his whole career. And when he's going to say up here in an article that Wout van Aert could have had a better 2022 season, Tom Boonen, you're a knucklehead. There's no doubt about it. Wout van Aert's career at this point in time has surpassed yours. Even with your multiple Paris-Roubaix and your Tour of Flanders, 3 victories there too. Wout van Aert has dominated your career, and there's nothing you can do about it. He has won all the way from February races all the way to the end of the season. Now, Boonen threw in some other kind of knucklehead comments in there, and I wasn't for certain. I'll highlight it here so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. I wasn't for certain if it's Tom Boonen saying that Remco Evenepoel and Wout van Aert at last year's Road World Championships at Belgium and Leuven, that they were against each other and going against odds against each other and made that debacle of a race that they had in 2021 at the World Championships in Belgium. Yes, it was a debacle, but no, those two riders, Remco Evenepoel and Wout van Aert, were not going against each other at the Belgium World Championships. Were the tactics a nightmare? Absolutely. They were some of the most ridiculous racing I've ever watched, especially at a Road World Championships. But Remco Evenepoel's a young kid. He did probably exactly what the Belgium director sportif driving the car back there told him to do. And then when everything went wrong, of course, they blamed it all on Remco Evenepoel, but Remco Evenepoel is not a selfish rider. This is why I like doing talks up here on Beyond the Coverage in the Butterfly Effect, is because I can straighten things out. When you see these comments, and I don't know if it was fathering him, the reporter that commented, if they're at odds, or if Boonen had said that and then the reporter had written it that Boonen meant that they were at odds. But whoever said this in the article, whether it be the journalist himself, he's either completely wrong, or of course if he translated it straight from Tom Boonen's even a bigger knucklehead. Because when you look at last year's Road World Championships, Remco Evenepoel was 100% team player. It was a tactical nightmare for sure. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it was one of the ugliest races tactically, funnest races to watch on the Chesterfield, but it was an absolute nightmare. But were they at odds? No. Remco Evenepoel, who has said it many times that he was trying to be a team player there, was a team player. All you have to do is look at the video and watch when you see Wout van Aert sitting on the wheel of Remco Evenepoel, and he's drilling it for 50K near the finish of the race, pulls off with 25 kilometers to go. And what is there, 25, 30 guys left at the Road World Championships? Remco Evenepoel was something amazing at last year's Road World Championships in Belgium, and he did his job as the Belgium director asked him to do, as Wout van Aert definitely wanted him to do, because it's Wout van Aert sitting on his wheel. So if he doesn't want him to do it, right up to Remco Evenepoel and say, hey, little buddy, slow down. I don't need you on the front this hard. But he didn't. They lost tactically, miserably. And then the Belgium director and, of course, the Belgium riders wanted to blame it all on Remco Evenepoel. Remco Evenepoel only made one small mistake, and that was after the race when he made the comment of that I had the legs to win the Belgium Road Championships, which was throwing some salt in the wound on Wout van Aert. That's a kid mistake, though. Made that mistake many times throughout my career, and I've always kind of regretted it a little bit when I threw a little salt on the wound. But was he wrong? No. I said it last year after the Road World Championships up on the Butterfly Effect that I believe Remco Evenepoel could have won last year's Road World Championships in Belgium if the tactics had been played right and Wout van Aert was still going to have bad legs at the finish of that year's race. But again, either the journalist that wrote it that said they were at odds doesn't know his job and read the race wrong, or Boonen is even a bigger knucklehead than I've already called him, because those two guys, Wout van Aert and Remco Evenepoel, were racing 100% in sync with the tactics that the Belgium Road World National Coach wanted them to race, and how that race came out and how it's been talked about ever since is completely wrong. So that's why I want to bring it up here on Beyond the Coverage. Hope you guys like today's take on Beyond the Coverage. Next issue will come out, and I want to compare the top 5 best riders in the 2022 season when we're talking about the European Professional Peloton. So make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next edition of Beyond the Coverage real soon.